At this time, I bring forward, as I said, the hardest working deputy mayor in the state of Indiana, Beth Malloy.
Thank you all for having me. I'm excited to talk about actually two projects. I'm going to add a third because I think the councilman and Councilwoman Goldner and the trustee have been working very hard and working with us to get a handful of things done this year. One of them is Bank on Fort Wayne. That's a program I think you're all probably a little bit familiar with. We have quite a large percentage of folks here in our region who are what they call unbanked. Which means that they can't if the banks don't allow them to have a checking account or a savings account or another place to put their money other than their mattress, that we end up with very, very high costs figuring out how to get checks cashed, and we go to those rent-a-center places with very high percentage or rates, that they have to pay the money back, and they get themselves into trouble, and it's really hard, as you all know, I think, with no access to those kinds of services to really kind of get ahead. So we struggled a little bit last year, as the councilman suggested, trying to figure out how to get our arms around the work that we needed to do. As some of you may know, we decided, we were going to have to hire somebody to focus on this for us. We hired Brent Wake, who worked in Senator By's office. And we hired him 3 months earlier than we actually needed him. He's replacing one of our neighborhood liaisons. But we hired him 3 months before that and told him, do nothing but bank on Fort Wayne. Really get this program started, and I'm really happy to say that we've made some progress on that. We are expecting a kickoff in May. Right now what we're doing is, one of the things I asked Brent to do right from the beginning, there's been some very successful programs. One's in Evansville, Indiana, one's in Indianapolis. And we were thinking of just picking those up and kind of copying them. And I think to a large degree, we will end up with the same kind of program that they ended up with. But what I asked him to do was, let's start surveying the area here so we know what we started at in terms of folks who don't have access to those services, so that we can make sure that next year, when we're here at the State of the District, that the councilman will be able to talk about the improvements that we've seen and whether our banking systems actually have responded the way that we'd like them to. So right now we are in the middle of a survey. You may actually see one soon. We've been working with some social service agencies to get some numbers for us. And we will have a kickoff in May with the banks, and hopefully we'll be on full throttle this summer. So we're very excited about that program. So that's one. The other thing that Councilman Hines talked about, he has been, and along with the trustee and Ms. Goldner, they all sit, those two council people sit on our diversity council. I'm just trying to think of the name, too many D's. There's a lot of D's here today. But we are working on something called an availability study. The availability study takes a look at our region and looks at companies that we have here and the number of willing and available companies to do work with the city of Fort Wayne. We spend a lot of money every year on goods and services and construction projects and things like that. And one of the things that we really want to make sure of is that, especially with a lot of people entering the workforce right now, starting their own businesses and all the entrepreneurs that are out there, that we're making sure that we don't have policies in place that kind of keep us from being able to give business to those firms. So that could be local firms, that could be minority-owned firms, that could be women-owned firms, and it's just something that we haven't really been able to do until we do something so that we can explain to everyone the availability of folks who can do the kind of work for the services that we need and the kinds of products that we buy. We are expecting to issue a request for proposal in April. We're working on the last pieces of the language to put it out. We will probably then hopefully be hiring a firm somewhere in mid-summer. I would suggest that after the selection process to pick a firm to come help us survey our entire region and figure out how many of those kinds of companies are out there. What we may find out is that if we don't have enough, or we have gaps, that we actually need to do some creation of companies and put some policies in place that do that. We also may find out that we have policies in place in city procurement that we need to change, like bonding requirements, insurance requirements, those kinds of things. Those are likely outcomes. So, but it will establish kind of a set of facts for us to work from, And Mayor's way behind this. I briefed him on him just recently. He's kind of like, why haven't you done this yet, Beth? Hurry up. So we hopefully next month that we'll be putting that out. And if it's okay, I'd like to talk about one other project that the councilman has been working with us on, and certainly I've met many times with the trustee on these issues. And I noticed Donald Essex was sitting in the room. Where is he?
In the back.
He is working so very hard on this. So that's why I had to talk about it. The city has, we do affirmative action reporting every year for our city employees. And we tell the federal government how many minorities and women we have in each of our professions, let's say. But one thing we haven't done a very good job in the past, and we're going to do a much better job this year, because Donald actually, he was in working last weekend on it for me. He's probably working this weekend on it for me. One of the things that we have gotten, I think for the first time, we've gotten a chance to look at is within each category of the things that people do at the city, what is the breakout for minorities and women in those jobs, and what our goal should be. So, and it's the goal piece that I think, that we're going to really see an improvement on this year, because that's given us a place to start in terms of gaps. And I've met with our cabinet, with the mayor's cabinet, the division heads last week. We talked about what the next part of the process will be, which is that Donald will be following back up with them, probably in detail in each department. And we will be developing some policies to make sure that we are doing all the right things that we need to do, to not just make sure we hire people from the outside that can help us with fix the gap, but also that we're promoting people that are already working for the city into these new jobs, and we're really kind of keeping an eye on it and focusing on it. So I'm very excited about that. We're going to present it this Wednesday at the Diversity Council meeting, and I hope to have a really good discussion about how we move forward on our plans. And I actually wanted to just do a call out to Donald, because I know he's been working very hard on this, so I really do appreciate it. It's been great work. So thank you very much.
Takes me back to a time when I was a trustee at Greater Progressive, and we were trying to do financial literacy training. So me and my creative genius went out and rented a devil's outfit, and I was the debt devil in church. And some of those older sisters was like, son, you can't come up here and be the devil. No way can you come up in church with the devil. So I don't know what I was thinking about. It was a good idea when I